human life, from the moment of conception and through all subsequent stages, is sacred.
Welcome to another episode of the Vita Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Faulkner, Social Media Director for Human Life Action. Caitie Crowley is a passionate Catholic pro-life writer. She has written for Human Defense Initiative and is a Live Action ambassador. She is pursuing her graduate degree in Information Design and Strategy with a Content Strategy concentration at Northwestern University. Her Bachelor of Science is in Business Marketing with a concentration in Social Media and a minor in Management and Leadership. She is also currently a project manager at Symantec and has also worked at Caterpillar Inc., doing a variety of roles including digital marketing, marketing communications, event planning, project planning, and writing. Caitie doesn't just want to win arguments, she wants to change hearts. You can get in touch with Caitie at LinkedIn or Twitter. Enjoy today's episode, and be sure to subscribe to the Vita Podcast wherever you get podcasts. Tell us about yourself and how you became an active voice in the pro-life movement.
I've been pro-life my whole life, but I didn't really feel like I needed to do really anything about it, I guess. Like if someone asked me my opinion, I would say it, but otherwise that's kind of as far as it went. Until about a couple years ago, I went on a trip to see a museum in Chicago, actually. And one of the displays had the 9 months of pregnancies, like real human babies donated to science, like preserved in these glass jars out for display. And I was really like kind of shook by seeing this display, because it's like, wow, these are like real actual like human babies. This is what they look like. And every day they're killed, sadly, in America all the time. And it's like, wow, like it was like really startling, and it kind of jolted me like, I should do something like more about this than just, passively, being pro-life, I guess. But I didn't really know what I exactly wanted to do. But I'm actually pursuing my master's degree at Northwestern, and I took a class in social media, and the teacher was like, pick an industry that you would like to work in after graduation. So I picked the pro-life movement and started doing a bunch of research on it, started getting connected with some pro-life groups online. And it kind of started off from there, and was able to connect with some people to do some writing. So that's kind of how it got started.
You've written articles for pro-life organizations like Human Defense Initiative. For those looking to get involved in the pro-life movement, what are some easy steps people can take to make their voices heard?
My best advice is to kind of think about what your talents and interests are, and then what's available in your community / online, and kind of see like where those two can meet. So, if you're on a college campus, like maybe joining a pro-life group or starting one if there isn't one, or maybe you have a pregnancy resource center nearby you and maybe you could volunteer at it. For me, I've always had like a strong interest in writing, and I've done a bunch of writing through school and through work. And so this just kind of was a natural step for me to see like, hey, like there's a lot of pro-life groups out there like that needs media coverage. So how can I get involved? So I just kind of stumbled into it because of this class, and actually like really found a passion for it. So yeah, I think just looking and seeing what opportunities are available, how that matches your skill set, and then reaching out to groups and seeing like what the need is for them specifically.
What has your experience been like writing pro-life articles for organizations like Human Defense Initiative?
It's been like very positive. I think what's been nice, being a Live Action ambassador, like you get to connect with like people like all over the U.S. and maybe the world, but I know for sure the U.S. That have the same passion as you do. So like I can meet other pro-life writers or people that are active in their pro-life communities. So it's been nice to like not just feel like you're the only one, the only young person maybe that is like interested in pro-life or is, pro-life. So that community aspect's been really nice. And then being able to use my writing skills to advocate for a cause that I'm really passionate about has been super, super rewarding.
Why is abortion not just a women's issue, and what can men do to step up to the plate and play a more active role in choosing life for their little ones?
It's definitely not just a women's issue. I think that the other side, definitely uses that as their angle. And it's kind of sad, actually, because I think a lot more women would keep their children if men actually stood up and said, hey, even though this was unexpected, but I'm going to stand by you. We're going to raise this child together. I'll get a second job. I think you would see a lot more women feeling supported and encouraged, and I think they'd be a lot more likely to keep their child. I think there's way too many situations where the guy either just bails and they never hear from them again, or they're actually encouraging an abortion. But I think the lack of support from the father is a huge reason as to why a lot of women end up aborting.
In what ways has your faith influenced your pro-life beliefs?
It's definitely a huge role. Obviously, the Catholic Church teaches that, you should be pro-life. And so, for me, I just take that as its truth. Unfortunately, there's a lot of Catholics that are pro-choice and disagree with it, even though that they're Catholic. It's kind of hard to wrap my head around exactly, but I think the reason for that is that Catholics and other people, too, just place other things above the value of human life, which is really sad. So, getting a bigger house or whatever other accomplishments people want to get or spend their money on, instead of valuing human life. If you believe that every person has a soul and is made in the image and likeness of God, I don't know how people can justify killing an innocent child. I mean, if God exists and there's a bigger purpose and plan for everybody, who are you to take that life away? How do you justify playing God? It's a lot of questions to think about, but I think people need to think about the bigger picture instead of just their short-term accomplishments. And even if it's not on their expected timeline of how they want their life to look, human life is absolutely number one, apart from God, of course. So I think people need to reprioritize what they value.
Being a pro-life advocate has its rewards, but it can also be tiresome at times. What do you do to avoid being discouraged and overwhelmed? And how do you re-energize yourself to continue having a positive mindset?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very easy to get discouraged just because there's a lot of hate comments out there. There's a lot of liberal media outlets out there, celebrities endorsing, crazy radical ideas. And I think it can feel like, you're the lone wolf, speaking to, nobody's listening to you kind of a thing. I think the biggest thing is when you feel like you're kind of getting bogged down is to take a break from social media. I think that you can get refreshed by just, being outside, taking a break, doing other things. But the most important thing that you need to do to stay sustained is to pray. If you don't have God working with you, I think everyone's going to give up, right? Because we don't have the strength to keep going on our own, and that applies to everything in life. I personally like going to adoration a lot because what better, strengthening can you get than from being with Jesus himself, and when he was here on earth, during difficult times, he went and prayed. And so I think that's very critical for us to get that renewed perspective and to keep going is to be united with God.
Do you have any pro-life role models you look up to? And what organizations would you recommend our pro-life listeners take a look at?
Catherine Hajo is probably my favorite. I watch EWTN Pro-Life Weekly, pretty much on a weekly basis. And she posts great content throughout the week as well. I think that it's a really great source for staying up to date on pro-life news, pro-life politics, different people in the pro-life movement. She spotlights a variety of aspects of the pro-life movement too. So I think she's excellent. Lila Rose is another favorite of mine. Live Action has such great content, again, on a variety of issues. And I think they're both very knowledgeable, and those are the two that I probably look up to the most. But there is so many that are doing such great work.
You mentioned earlier in the podcast that you're a Live Action ambassador. What exactly does that entail?
Yeah, so basically it's kind of a community of pro-life individuals where we can gather together and share a lot of insights. And in our own kind of personal social media pages, help to push the message of pro-life and, in particular, Live Action's content. So whether that's sharing videos that they produce or different pieces of content, trying to get their reach a little bit further, and also connecting people together to kind of unite. So, for example, they'll also have meetups. I haven't been able to go to one myself, but if people are in a certain area or there's a certain rally, like they'll all meet up together, the people that are in that area. So it's just a really great way to collaborate and bring people together and also bring the pro-life movement forward.
What are you doing personally in your local community to help support single pregnant mothers?
I am not doing anything currently. I was actually going to be taking a position with Students for Life of America, doing media relations for them. But unfortunately with my accident, I wasn't able to start when I was, planning on this summer. But I'm planning on doing a lot more writing, finding more and more organizations that I can partner with. I would also love to volunteer. We do have a pregnancy resource center here that I would love to volunteer at and do events with. So that's on my to-do list as soon as I get better. So definitely looking forward to getting more and more involved. Had to have that temporary layoff, but I'll be ready to go in the future.
Where's the best place people can find and follow you?
Probably for pro-life and Catholic content, my Twitter is definitely where I share that specific content. So you can follow me over there, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn to see all the different things that I've been a part of and still am a part of work-wise. So I'd love to connect in both places.